Well, this leads us to the questions that came from one of the listeners or one of the students in the class. It was basically a small narration of the past in which the person went through some very difficult situations, which includes, being in the coma or going through dialysis for several years and getting a kidney donated and recovering and so on. The questions that were posed were, why did the person not leave the body? Is surviving through such hardship destiny? What is the role of karma in it? Why did this happen to the individual? And what is the purpose of this individual's life, assuming the core years of life are lost? This is a very important question, very insightful question, something that we all can learn from. I will start it with a very generalized aspect, which comes from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In that Upanishad, there will be a section wherein Yajnavalkya will tell that it is only for your own self, it is only to fulfill your own desires that everything that you associate with exists. It goes through various aspects, right? Be it a wife, or be it a student, or be it a teacher, and so on, and ends with the most beautiful words which we often quote. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Priyam is the key word here, that which you like, and Atmanastu kamaya means for the purpose of the fulfillment of the self needs, the self purposes, or the self's desires. Everything that we go through is for that purpose only. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. There is one of the narrations that we have for this mantra in which we emphasize that be happy for what you do. And when you develop that particular happiness, then you reach the bliss. A good example will be, say, I am asking you to give me something. Let us say I am asking you to give me a pen. You give that pen to me and perhaps follow through with the question, hey, are you happy? Are you satisfied? The giving of the pen should be the source of your satisfaction, and the receiving should be the source of my satisfaction. It doesn't matter who has given, or it doesn't matter to whom you have given. It doesn't matter whether the person who has received it is happy with receiving it or not. The giving should give you the happiness, and the receiving should give me the happiness. When we talk of Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, this is one of the lines that we try to take for explanations. Anyway, this leads us to the last of the question. What is the purpose of this individual's life, assuming the core years are lost? The fact is, there is nothing called as the core years. There is nothing called as lost. The experience that the person went through is as important as the experience the person is currently going through or will be going through. it is through that experience that one evolves, that one fulfills the duty of Kshetra Paripalana. The purpose of this individual is still the same: Dharma Rakshana and Kshetra Paripalana. Dharma Rakshana through Acharati, Acharan, which is by practicing the values as prescribed under the dharmic guidelines, by upholding dharma through your actions. Kshetra Paripalana, that is up to you, how you define that Kshetra to be. And it can change. Today it is one, and tomorrow it modifies into something else, because that is the nature of Prakriti, and as a result, the nature of Kshetra. So whatever the Kshetra that you have defined yourself to be with, nurturing it is the purpose of your life. So when we talk of nurturing, we always give the example of how a baby is nurtured. A newborn is nurtured. A newborn doesn't really care about you. It doesn't even care whether you are going to feed it or not. When it encounters, when the infant encounters a painful situation, a situation that is not acceptable, it cries. When it feels it is fulfilled, it even smiles. It expresses happiness. It never expresses happiness to make you happy. This can be seen literally in every child. You go and ask the child to smile, and the child may not even smile. It may just be looking elsewhere, not even looking at you. And you ask it not to cry, it will cry the loudest. You are sitting in a theater and it will cry loudest to the point where you will be forced to carry the baby away. And that is Paripalana. In other words, with no expectations from that particular child, keeping only the welfare of that infant in mind, you compromising everything as though you are doing a penance and bringing about the welfare for that infant. As we grow old, it may not be characterized by an infant. Rather, it is characterized by the Kshetra that you define. For example, the Kshetra that I define could be to teach Bhagavad Gita, to teach Vedanta. And when I am doing that, it is not whether the students show up or not. It is not whether I am criticized for it or not. It is to express what I have learned, spread it out so that I discharge my duty towards that Kshetra called as Gita Upadesh. So when we do that, and this can be in terms of even learning, not just teaching. For example, my purpose or my Kshetra could be to learn the new technologies that are emerging. And being involved in it, putting my hands into it, that should give me the happiness. Not whether it is yielding the results that I want. Not exactly by establishing myself to be superior to those who are recognized and are unable to even develop a code there. That is not what happiness should be. The happiness should be, or the Paripalana should be, towards the Kshetra called as learning, and I immerse myself into it. When your Kshetra becomes a desire, then you burn yourself into it. Which means the extent of pain as well as potentially the happiness that you gain in terms of failures and successes will be remarkable. So you go through the samsara of duality when you put desire as the kshetra. A desire can never be a kshetra. A kshetra is something that can be defined within the prakriti. And when you establish that, then it comes up. When you put desire to the front, the problem is you are yourself, in most of the cases, confused. Assuming you take the desire to be a true kshetra, because it is, everything is prakriti. Everything is born out of prakriti. So somebody can come and argue that desire is also part of the prakriti, and it is absolutely correct. Yes, desire is part of the prakriti. Then you nurture that desire, not the fulfillment. That is the very subtle aspect into it, right? So committing yourself to nurturing a kshetra is the purpose of your life, and how you do it is by practicing what is prescribed in the dharma, so in a righteous way, and not by making compromises or shortcuts. It is basically doing the right thing as dharma rakshana and towards kshetra paripalana, which becomes the purpose. The next question that I would like to take is, what is the role of karma in it? In it is a very vague statement, so I am going to put two possibilities to the it and address both of them in this answer. The first possibility is the it refers to the experiences of hardship that one has gone through. That is what is the role of karma in that. The other one is overcoming and getting back to a quote-unquote normalcy in life. Right, again, normalcy of a being is when you are natural. When you have borrowed something, be it even a kidney or any of the aspects, then perhaps it is not going to be as natural, but still it is much, much more better than going through the dialysis. Anyway, what is the role of karma, and why did the person has to endure such difficulty or such uncertainty of life and death in this particular experience that the person went through? The answer is very simple. When you look at karma, you look at karma from the point of view of the accumulated sins and punya, the good deeds, right? And it is always adrishyam. It is not a drishtaphalam, which is an effect, an output that you can see in a physical form, or you can experience it in terms of witnessing it, right? And the other one is adrishtam, in which it is again an experience, but something which is very internal and personal to you, which is going through the experiences of duality, feeling happy about it or feeling not happy about it, and so on, or feeling sad about it, experiencing pain and experiencing pleasure, and so on. Now, experiencing pain, pleasure, happiness, sorrow, these are not as a result of the drishtaphalam. That is our ajnanam. When we think of attributing, okay, I am very angry because of him. When I say that, it only expresses my ignorance. My anger in that case is my own self. Very beautifully, Bhagavan says this in Bhagavad Gita. The way that a jnani, a pandit, will see is guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. They don't get moved by it. They don't get shaken up by it because they realize that every aspect that they are going through is because of the guns transacting with one another. We know the three types of guns, sattvam, rajas and tamas. Maybe sattvam to sattvam there is some interaction. Sattvam to rajas there is an interaction. Sattvam tamas there is an interaction, and so on. Right? So we can identify what are all the possibilities, and that will give you a sense of happiness or a sense of displeasure, a sense of a positive feeling or a sense of negative feeling. This sense of positive and negative feeling is because of the karma, the accumulated karma that you have brought as part of your prarabdha, which is required for you to give a birth, or as part of agami, which is the accumulated one because of the actions that you have been performing here. It is not the experience, it is not me meeting you or me dropping my laptop. This is not a result of karma. The result of karma is, for example, I drop the laptop and the laptop goes and lands inside the pool. It is totally destroyed. On some days, it can give me pain. On other days, it can give me pleasure. For example, the laptop was already old, it was due to be replaced, and my organization to whom this laptop belongs has not been doing it, and this accident will force them to make it. So it becomes a matter of joy that it fell down. Though it was not planned, it fell down. Instead of giving a pain, it is giving me a pleasure. On the other hand, it is a new laptop that I have just bought out of my own funds, for example, and that falls, then I become sad because something that I valued has been lost. The happiness and the sorrow, or the positive feeling and the negative feeling, is the discharge of the karma. The laptop falling into the water in this example is a happening. It doesn't happen because of the karma that we are talking about. It is also part of karma, but that would be as part of the vyashti and samashti karma, which is individual and collective actions which resulted in such a thing happening. It is not prarabdham, agami or sanjitam, that kind of karma. It is not a karma related to the jivan, related to you as an individual. It is the karma that is happening at a prakritic level. Again, it has the individual action as well as the collective action, which results in an output. Going back to the question, in terms of why such a thing happened, it is because of the vyashti and samashti karma having an impact on your body. Now, the same thing can be applied to what is the role of karma with respect to the current situation that the person is in. It is again the vyashti and the samashti karma. What is that? Vyashti karma is the role that this body, again, this body means it is sthulam, the physical, sukshmam, the subtle, as well as karanam, which is causal. So whenever we speak of body, all these three are applicable. Now, the impact to the body, at least at a physical level that we have seen, is because of the Vyashti and the Samashti karma. What does it mean? In terms of this body, it is trying to fight it. Whether you know it or not, it is constantly fighting for the survival, for being in this particular livable state. And it is fighting against all odds. Some which you think you know, that which you think you can control. Most of it is something that you don't even know. Right? So it is because of the prakritik swaroop of this body, which becomes the kshetra, and the samashti, which can include the pollution or the tsunami that has happened in Japan or anything, everything put together, that has had an impact in your body. The food that you consume, it is again from the prakriti, from the samashti point of view, that has an impact in the vyashti, or this particular entity called as your body. Now, in terms of suffering, it suffered because of that. The origin of this body perhaps had certain deficiency. Every creation will have deficiencies, and they get aggravated with the samashti coming in the wrong way, resulting in some kind of a sickness, some kind of difficult situations, and so on. Your cure was also the same. The samashti is where the entire world has worked to ensure that you are able to get your dialysis done, you are able to sustain it, and at a vyashti level, the pain of dialysis, you are able to sustain it and take it forward. There was no accident in terms of, removing that and the blood kind of flowing out, etc. We have not gone through that, so you survived through it. And then you got cured. Again, that is the samashti coming together with the vyashti. Your experiences of suffering, in fact, while being in coma as well, and after you recovered, all of these are something that is related to the individual karma, prarabdham, agami, that kind of a karma. Those, what it does is it gives you the pleasure as well as the pain. If you recall, you would have seen that at the worst of the situations during that also, you had opportunities to smile and be happy at a conscious level. Even at a subconscious level, you would have had the experiences of happiness or the positive side, and sorrow, the negative side. So, we need to be able to distinguish the karma. When we go in the 4th chapter, we will talk a lot more about it. Right? There are 3 kinds of categories of karma that we will talk of. Right? One is the individual, which is the prarabdham, the sanjitam, and the agami karma. And at a prakritik level, the vyashti and the samashti. And at a dharma level, at those which you have to do, we will also talk about nitya karma, naimittika karma, and what is a prayaschitta karma, what is a nishiddha karma, and so on. So we will take all of them when we are in the 4th chapter, but for now we can conclude the answer as 2 main divisions: prakritik karma and kshetra karma. The kshetra karma are 2 types: prarabdham, that you are born with, and agami, which is something that you have accumulated. At a prakritik level, the individual action, which is vyashti, and the collective action, which is samashti. So these are the role of karma, and this can be attributed to you having fallen sick, you having traversed through sickness and difficulties, as well as you currently recovering and coming across. And the purpose is Dharma Rakshana and Kshetra Paripalana. Now we will take the first question that the person had. What is that? Why did the person not leave the body, or why did the Jivan not leave the body? Why did they not die when they were going through this? From a karma point of view, we discussed it. We are in a constant process of fighting to survive. In this fight, we won by our individual action together with the collective action. And because of that, we did not die. In other words, the death should be seen as the Jivan did not leave the body because the body was still very actively fighting for survival, and the Jivan decided to stay in the body because it can. It had not seen the body to have completely worn out, and hence the Jivan continued. Had the Jivan seen that this body is not livable, as in internally the body is not performing the fight it needs to perform, then the Jivan would have left the body. So why you did not die? It is because your body was still actively fighting from within at a very spirited level, not conscious, but the natural makeup of the body was still having that spirit to fight against the forces which weakens its establishment. And hence the Jivan continued to stay in the body. As you would have seen, this answer also addresses the question, why did this happen to the individual? When I say this, I am talking collectively between karma and the sustenance that we go through. The last question is surviving through this my destiny? The answer is, the term destiny, fate, vidhi, this is often referred to as something that has been written by Brahma when you were born. It is Puranic, absolutely. It is not Vedic. It is Puranic, and we don't deny the Puranic. Any Agama Shastras, we don't deny. We try to understand, reason it, and evolve with it. Develop our knowledge in that process. That is what we in our tradition do. In other words, every experience that we go through is for us to learn. And the ultimate learning is the Atma Jnana. And that Atma Jnana is the path to moksha. This is in accordance with the Advaita Parampara. There are other paramparas which will have it in a different way, and they will have their own reasoning behind it. I am here to talk about what I have learned, so I am making it very clear that in accordance with Advaita Parampara, we see it that way. So, when we talk of destiny, I have spoken about this before also. Destiny is not that which is physically happening in the world. Destiny is the inevitability which results in something despite having taken the best of the effort by a karmi, by a person or by a set of force which is doing the karma. It can be a team, it can be a company, it can be an individual. You can take it in any way that you like. Right? The karta defines the process for a specific objective, and that objective is not always guaranteed. And at that time, we introduce the term called as destiny, fate, or vidhi to say the inevitability of such a thing happening, but not preventing you from working through or evolving the mechanisms which will prevent such a thing from happening in the future, the undesired thing being happening in the future. When we were talking about this body, about death, we were pointing out that every kshetra fights for existence. In that fight, it is not always that you win. When you do not win, we accept the losing to the overall thing that is happening using the term destiny, but we keep the Atmaswarupam, which is eternal, right? It doesn't have any death at all. We continue to exist at all times. With that, we try to bring the same into the prakritic nature as well. So the karta's role is to continue to fight and have the realization that even the best of the karma is not going to be fulfilling for being accident free. Let me put it, I am just trying to make it into an easy way to understand. But basically, things can happen beyond putting the best effort. And in order to give an acceptance to it, we use the term destiny. It is not destiny having a role to play, but when I am unable to reason out something, I accept it as a decision of the God for or of Ishvara for that, and I give the name destiny to it. Is surviving through this your destiny? No, it is your karma. As in the fight that this body did, not consciously that individual that you are aware of, the chittam, manam, buddhi, ahankaram. No, I am not talking about that. This body internally fought and it won. That was the outcome, and that should have been the outcome as well. We will call it as a destiny should you have passed away. As in, the body was unable to fight and the Jivan decided to move on to the next. Then we will call it as destiny. You surviving is the role that you are supposed to play, and you played it very well. Hope I have answered all the questions, but I really look forward to your response in person to me if you are listening to it, and with others as well if they are looking at it from a Dvaitic point of view, or even from an Islamic point of view, or in any form. If you find that this answer is lacking in providing you sufficient explanation, please get back with your further questions and I'll be happy to respond to that. Thank you.